I was live streaming my dream wedding when Marcus called me worthless in front of 400 guests, saying I was too hood and ghetto to be his wife. Everyone I'd ever known watched him destroy me for social media clout. Then a man appeared in the doorway, all sharp suits and quiet power, and every influential person in that room froze like they'd seen royalty walk in. He moved down the aisle with purpose, took my hand, and announced he was marrying me instead. But when I asked him why, his answer stopped my heart. "I've been watching you for 8 months, Sarah. Now that you have you, you're mine forever." I had no idea if I'd just been rescued or claimed by someone far more intense than I could handle. What I discovered about this man in the next 48 hours turned my world upside down. You need to hear what happened. I don't. Those 2 words cut through the South Korea wedding venue like a blade. My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I held my bouquet of cream roses. My heart pounded so loud I was sure the microphone would pick it up. The pastor looked confused, his Bible still open to the marriage vows. "Excuse me, son?" Marcus turned to face the 400 guests packed into this luxury ballroom. Chandeliers sparkled overhead. The late afternoon Georgia sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows. Everything looked perfect. Everything except the man who was supposed to become my husband. I said, "I don't want to marry this woman." Marcus's voice carried across the room, amplified by the sound system we'd spent thousands on. "Just look at her. She's too much. Too loud, too black, too ghetto. Our families push me into this merger, but I refuse to spend my life pretending she's good enough for me." The gasps came from everywhere, at once. I felt like someone had thrown ice water over my entire body. My dress, the beautiful ivory gown I'd saved for months to afford, suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of all these people and their cameras. My mama stood up from the front row, her face twisted in fury. "Marcus, you have lost your mind." His father rose too, looking like he might have a stroke. "Son, we had an agreement. Our companies need this." "I don't care about your business deals, Dad." Marcus pointed at me like I was trash he'd found on the street. "Find another way to merge the companies. I'm done with this charade." That's when the tears came, hot and fast, streaking down my face and ruining my makeup. I'd known Marcus didn't love me. Our families had arranged this marriage to join his father's investment firm with my father's tech company. But I thought he'd at least respect me. I thought maybe we could build something real over time. I never imagined he'd humiliate me like this on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Marcus started walking toward the side exit. People murmured and whispered. Phones were out, recording everything. By tomorrow morning, this disaster would be trending on every platform. I wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor, and never be seen again. Stop. One word. Deep. Commanding. Absolute. The voice came from the back of the ballroom near the main doors. Everyone turned, including me. Through my tears, I could barely make out a tall figure silhouetted in the entrance. The man stepped into the light and my breath caught. He was stunning. Korean features, sharp cheekbones, dark eyes that seemed to miss nothing. His black hair was perfectly styled. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my car. The way he moved spoke of confidence and control. Each step was measured and purposeful, like a CEO walking into a boardroom he owned. The crowd parted as he made his way down the aisle. The silence was so complete I could hear my own heartbeat. I noticed several prominent business people go pale when they recognized him. A woman near the front whispered something that sounded like, "Oh my God," under her breath. He stopped right in front of me at the altar. Up close, he was even more striking. At least 6'2". His presence commanded the entire space. When his dark eyes locked onto mine, electricity shot through my body. No one had ever looked at me like that, like I was valuable, like I was beautiful. "My name is Kim Jae-won," he said. His voice was smooth and cultured with just a hint of an accent. "And I will marry her." The room erupted. Marcus spun around, his face a mask of confusion and anger. "Who the hell are you?" Jae-won didn't even glance at him. He kept his eyes on me. Someone who recognizes quality when he sees it. My mind was spinning. This couldn't be real. Men like this didn't exist outside of movies and romance novels. They definitely didn't volunteer to marry rejected brides at disasters of weddings. You can't just walk in here and hijack someone's wedding, Marcus sputtered. He tried to sound authoritative, but I heard fear creeping into his voice. Now, Jae-won did look at him. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. You made it abundantly clear this is no longer your wedding. You walked away. I'm simply stepping in to correct your mistake. A man in an expensive suit stood up quickly from the third row. He looked important and absolutely terrified. Mr. Kim, sir, we had no idea you'd be attending. This is an honor. Other business leaders started standing, bowing their heads slightly. I saw Marcus's father go completely white. He grabbed his son's arm and yanked him backward hard. Brandon, shut your mouth, he hissed. Do you have any idea who that is? But Dad, he can't just take my bride. She's not your bride. You said so yourself in front of 400 witnesses. His father's voice shook. Don't say another word unless you want to ruin what's left of our reputation. Jae-won turned back to me. He reached out and gently wiped a tear from my cheek. The touch sent shivers down my spine. I know this is overwhelming. I know you're confused and hurt, but I promise you, if you let me, I will spend every single day proving you deserve so much better than what he just offered. My voice came out barely above a whisper. Why? You don't even know me. A small smile touched his lips, transforming his face from intimidating to breathtaking. I know more than you think. You're the senior analyst at Montgomery Tech. You're brilliant with data systems. You volunteer at the youth center every Sunday. You make the best peach cobbler in South Korea. And you deserve someone who sees how extraordinary you are. My eyes went wide. How do you know all of that? Because I've been doing business with your father's company, he said softly. I've been watching you for 8 months, Sarah, waiting for the right moment. This should have scared me. Some stranger had been watching me. But the way he said my name, with such care and respect, made my heart race for entirely different reasons. His eyes held no disgust, no judgment, only warmth and something that looked like hunger. This is insane, I whispered. Yes, he agreed. But is staying here humiliated in front of everyone any less insane? Come with me. Let me show you what you're actually worth. He held out his hand. I stared at it. This was absolutely crazy. I didn't know this man. He could be dangerous. He clearly was powerful based on how everyone was reacting. But then I looked at Marcus, who was whispering angrily with his father. I thought about facing all these people, about the videos already spreading online, about going home alone to face my family's disappointment. I took Jae-won's hand. His fingers closed around mine, warm and strong. The smile he gave me made my knees weak. He turned to address the crowd. The wedding will proceed as planned. Same venue, same time. 1 week from today. Anyone who wishes to celebrate with us is welcome. Anyone who doesn't can leave now. Then he led me down the aisle. I held my bouquet in one hand and his hand in the other. My dress flowed behind me like a cloud. People stared as we passed, but I kept my eyes forward, focused on him, on this mysterious man who'd appeared like something from a dream. A black Mercedes sedan waited outside, sleek and pristine. A driver in a dark suit opened the door. Jae-won helped me inside first, then slid in beside me. The door closed, shutting out the chaos. We sat in silence for a moment as the car pulled away from the venue. My mind was racing. What had I just done? Who was this man really? What did he want from me? Jae-won took my hand again. Breathe, he said gently. You're safe. I promise you that. Who are you really? I asked. He looked at me with those intense dark eyes. Someone who's been waiting a very long time for someone like you. And now that I have you, I'm never letting you go. The way he said it, low and possessive, sent heat flooding through my body. This was intense. He was intense. But as South Korea's skyline blurred past the tinted windows and his thumb traced circles on my palm, I realized I didn't want to run. I wanted to know what happened next. The car glided through South Korea's streets as the sun began to set. I watched the city lights start to glow outside the windows. My wedding dress felt tight around my chest, making it hard to breathe. Or maybe that was just reality setting in. Where are we going? I asked. J1 sat beside me, completely relaxed. Somewhere private. Somewhere we can talk without 400 people recording us. You just crashed my wedding. Your failed wedding, he corrected gently. There's a difference. I pulled my hand away, suddenly needing space. This is crazy. I don't know you. You could be anyone. I'm exactly who I appear to be, he said. A businessman who saw something he wanted and took action. His honesty was startling. Why me? There are thousands of beautiful women in South Korea. Women who know you. Women who actually fit your world. J1's expression softened. He reached up and tucked a loose curl behind my ear. The gesture was so intimate my breath hitched. 8 months ago, I came to Montgomery Tech for a consultation meeting. I arrived early and saw you in the lobby helping an elderly security guard with his computer. You spent 30 minutes of your lunch break teaching him how to video call his grandchildren. You were patient and kind and you made him laugh. I remembered that day. Mr. Johnson had been so frustrated with technology. That's just being decent, I said. No, that's being exceptional. J1 continued. Later that week, I saw your supervisor present your entire project proposal as his own work. You knew he did it. I could see it in your face. But you said nothing because you didn't want to cause problems. You just kept working, kept being brilliant. Heat crept up my neck. You were spying on me? I was learning about you, he corrected. I started finding excuses to visit your building. The way you sing along to music in your office when you think no one's listening. How you bring coffee to the interns on stressful days. That smile you give even when people don't deserve it. His voice dropped lower. And yes, I noticed how beautiful you are. Your curves, your skin, those eyes that sparkle when you laugh, your hair, everything about you captivated me completely. Nobody had ever talked to me like this. Tears threatened again, but for a different reason this time. Why didn't you just ask me out like a normal person? J1's laugh was dark. Because I'm not a normal person. When I saw the announcement of your engagement to Marcus, I did my research. I knew his type. Entitled, shallow, someone who would never appreciate what he had. I hoped I was wrong. I bought an invitation to the wedding, telling myself I would just make sure you were happy. He shook his head. But when I saw him humiliate you like that, something in me snapped. I couldn't stay silent anymore. The car turned onto a private road lined with magnolia trees. I could smell honeysuckle through the air vents. What do you do exactly? I asked. Everyone at the wedding looked at you like you were royalty. J1 was quiet for a moment. I run a venture capital firm. We invest in tech startups, real estate, emerging markets. I also sit on the boards of several major companies. I'm what people call a power player. So you're rich. I'm wealthy enough that money is no longer a concern, he said carefully. But more importantly, I have influence. I can open doors. I can protect the people I care about. And I always keep my word. The house appeared through the trees. It wasn't a mansion, more like an elegant modern home with walls of glass overlooking a private lake. Lights glowed warm from inside. It was beautiful and somehow welcoming. The driver opened my door. J1 came around and offered his hand. This time I took it without hesitation. His grip was firm and reassuring. Inside, the house was stunning. Hardwood floors, contemporary furniture, art on the walls that looked original and expensive. The back wall was entirely glass, showing the lake reflecting the sunset. A woman appeared, middle-aged and professional. Mr. Kim, welcome. Shall I prepare the guest suite? No. Thank you, Mrs. Park. Zara will take the master bedroom. I'll use the office. My eyes widened. Wait, I'm staying here tonight? J1 turned to me. Unless you want to go back to your apartment where reporters are probably already camped outside. The video from today is viral. Your address isn't hard to find. My stomach dropped. I hadn't thought about that. My things are at my place. Give Mrs. Park your sizes. She'll have everything you need delivered by morning. He gestured toward the back of the house. Would you like to see the lake? It's peaceful. No one can bother us there. I should have said no. Should have called an Uber, gone home, dealt with this mess like an adult. But something about J1 pulled at me. Maybe it was how he looked at me like I was the only person who mattered. Maybe it was the way my skin tingled every time he touched me. Okay, I whispered. We walked through the house and out onto a wooden deck. Steps led down to a dock that stretched into the water. The lake was perfectly still, reflecting the pink and orange sky. It was the most peaceful thing I'd seen all day. J1 removed his jacket and tie, draping them over a chair. He rolled up his sleeves, revealing strong forearms. Then he kicked off his expensive shoes and stepped onto the grass. I laughed. You're going to ruin your suit. I have many suits. I only have one chance at this moment with you. My heart fluttered. I reached down and pulled off my heels, then gathered up my dress so I could walk. The grass was cool and soft under my feet. I joined him at the water's edge, where small waves lapped gently at the shore. I meant what I said in the car. J1 said quietly. I will protect you from Marcus, from anyone who tries to hurt you, from whatever comes.
Why?
I asked. What do you want from me? He turned to face me fully. The fading light painted his features in gold and shadow. Everything. Your time, your attention, your thoughts. I want to know what makes you laugh, and what makes you angry. I want to cook breakfast with you and debate which K-dramas are best. I want to watch you succeed and celebrate every victory. He stepped closer. And yes, I want to touch you, kiss you, show you how a woman like you should be treated. My whole body went hot despite the cool evening breeze. That's very forward. I don't believe in playing games, he said. Not with something this important. His hand came up to cut my cheek. His thumb brushed across my lower lip. Tell me to stop, and I will. Tell me you want to leave, and I'll drive you home myself. But if you stay, understand that I'm not looking for something casual. When I commit, it's completely. I should have been scared. This was happening too fast. But looking into his eyes, I saw nothing but honesty and heat. Desire that made me feel powerful instead of ashamed. Kiss me, I breathed. J1 didn't hesitate. He pulled me close, one hand on my waist and the other sliding into my hair. When his lips met mine, I felt like lightning struck my entire body. The kiss started gentle, questioning. His lips were soft and warm. He tasted like mint and something darker, something thrilling. Then my hands gripped his shirt, and everything changed. J1 made a low sound in his throat and deepened the kiss. His tongue traced my lips, and I opened for him immediately. Heat exploded through my veins. His hands tightened on my waist, pulling me flush against him. I could feel every hard plane of his body through my dress. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, I felt dizzy. My lips were swollen and tingling. J1 looked at me like a man starving, like I was everything he needed. Stay, he said, his voice rough. Not just tonight. Stay with me. Let me show you what it feels like to be valued. I knew this was reckless. Knew I was diving into deep water without knowing how to swim. But standing by this lake in the fading light, wrapped in the arms of a powerful man who looked at me like I was precious, I couldn't bring myself to care. Okay, I whispered against his lips. I'll stay. 3 weeks had passed since I moved into the lake house. 3 weeks of living in a reality I never imagined. Every morning started the same way. I'd wake up in the master bedroom with its view of the water, and J1 would already be there with breakfast on a tray. You don't have to do this every day, I said on a Tuesday morning sitting up against the pillows. Don't you have early meetings or something? J1 set the tray across my lap. Perfectly fluffy pancakes, fresh berries, coffee, just how I liked it. Nothing is more important than this, he said, sitting on the edge of the bed. The way he looked at me, like I was the most fascinating person alive, still made me self-conscious. What's your schedule today? I asked between bites. Board meeting until noon. Then I thought we could go downtown. There's something I want to show you. He reached over and wiped a drop of syrup from the corner of my mouth. The casual intimacy of it made my stomach flip. What about you? I'd been thinking about this for days. I need to figure out my next move. I can't just live here forever eating your food and sleeping in your bed. Why not? J1 asked simply. Because I need to work. I need purpose. I've always wanted to open a bakery, but that takes capital and planning and licensing.
She sighed.
Plus, I'm technically still employed at Montgomery Tech, but I haven't been back since the wedding. You resigned 2 weeks ago. I had my assistant handle the paperwork. I nearly dropped my fork.
You what?
Your supervisor was toxic. The environment was holding you back. You deserved better. Jae-won's expression was matter of fact. As for the bakery, I own a property in Midtown that's been vacant. It's yours if you want it. I can't just take a building from you. Consider it an investment. I believe in you. He stood and kissed the top of my head.
Think about it.
I'll see you this afternoon. After he left, I sat in bed with my mind spinning.
This was my life now.
Living with a man who casually gave away commercial properties and made me breakfast every morning. A man who was gradually stealing my heart piece by piece. That afternoon, Jae-won took me to see the property. It was perfect. Corner location in a busy neighborhood, huge windows, exposed brick walls, plenty of space for ovens and display cases. I could already see it in my mind. This is too much, I said, turning in a circle. This is exactly right, he corrected. You're going to build something amazing here. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into planning. Jae-won connected me with contractors, designers, suppliers. He never took over, just opened doors and let me make the decisions. He believed in me in a way no one ever had. Our relationship deepened. We'd spend mornings talking over breakfast, afternoons working side by side in his home office where he taught me about investment strategies and I'd share my bakery plans. Evenings were for cooking dinner together, watching movies, long conversations that stretched into the night. And the physical connection between us was intense. Jae-won was attentive and passionate, learning exactly what I liked, pushing boundaries, making me feel things I'd never experienced. Every touch was deliberate. Every kiss held promise. One evening, about a month in, we were cooking dinner together when my phone buzzed. It was Marcus. I stared at the screen, my stomach tightening. What is it? Jae-won asked, noticing my expression. Marcus is calling. His entire demeanor changed. His jaw tightened. Don't answer it. But my curiosity got the better of me. I answered and put it on speaker. Zara, Marcus's voice came through. I need to talk to you. We have nothing to discuss, I said coldly.
Please.
Just 5 minutes. It's important. Jae-won was watching me carefully. I could see the tension in his shoulders. You have 2 minutes, I said.
Talk.
I need your help. Marcus's voice cracked. Everything fell apart after the wedding. Our investors pulled out. The merger collapsed. My father's firm is bankrupt. We lost everything. I felt a flicker of sympathy, but it died quickly. And you're calling me why? I'm calling to apologize. What I did was unforgivable. I was wrong about everything. You're not ghetto or too much. You're incredible.
I see that now.
You see that now that you've lost everything, I said. How convenient.
Please, Zara.
I know you're with Kim Jae-won now. I know he has influence. If you could just talk to him, maybe he could help. Jae-won's expression had gone cold. He took the phone from my hand. Marcus, this is Jae-won. Let me make something very clear. What happened to your family is a direct result of your choices. You humiliated Zara in front of hundreds of people. You called her worthless. Those actions have consequences. But my family had nothing to do with it, Marcus pleaded. Your family raised you to think appearance and status matter more than character. They made their choices too. Jae-won's voice was ice. Don't call this number again. If you do, I'll make sure what's left of your reputation is destroyed completely. He ended the call and set the phone down. That was harsh, I said quietly. He deserved harsh. Jae-won pulled me close. I will not let him manipulate you. Not now, not ever. I leaned into him, feeling safe. You're very protective. When it comes to you, yes. Absolutely. That night, lying in bed together, I traced patterns on Jae-won's chest. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why did you really wait 8 months before approaching me? You could have asked me out any time. He was quiet for a long moment. Because I wanted to be sure. I've never felt this way about anyone, Zara. I've had relationships, but nothing real. I didn't trust the feeling at first. I thought maybe it was just attraction or curiosity. His hand stroked my back. But the more I watched you, the more certain I became. You're kind without being weak. Strong without being hard. Beautiful inside and out. I fell in love with you long before I ever spoke to you. Tears filled my eyes. I love you too. I think I started falling the moment you walked down that aisle. You looked at me like I was worth saving. You saved me too, he whispered. You reminded me that life is more than board meetings and quarterly reports. That being vulnerable with the right person isn't weakness. It's strength. He kissed me then, slow and deep and full of promise. We made love that night with a new intensity, both of us understanding that what we had was rare and precious and worth protecting. As I fell asleep in his arms, I realized something. The worst day of my life, the day I was humiliated in front of everyone I knew, had led to the best thing that ever happened to me. Sometimes the universe breaks you open so something better can get in. 6 months in, everything had changed. My bakery, Sweet Zara's, had opened to incredible reviews. Lines formed every morning for my peach cobbler and red velvet cupcakes. Food bloggers raved about my lemon pound cake. I'd been featured in South Korea magazine as one of the city's best new businesses. When a potential investor from Charlotte reached out wanting to discuss franchising opportunities, I was excited. Jae-won had been less enthusiastic. I don't like you traveling alone, he'd said that morning, watching me pack an overnight bag. It's just Charlotte. I'll be back tomorrow. I kissed him softly. Besides, Daniel is coming with me. I'll be perfectly safe. Daniel was Jae-won's head of security, a former military guy who'd become something like a friend to me over the months. Jae-won had pulled me close, holding me longer than usual. Call me when you arrive. And again before bed. And immediately, if anything feels wrong. You worry too much, I'd teased, not understanding the instinct that was making him tense. Now, sitting in a cold warehouse with my hands zip-tied behind my back, I understood. I should have listened to that worry in his voice. The meeting in Charlotte had been legitimate. I'd met with investors at a nice restaurant, discussed expansion plans, felt confident about the future. Daniel had been with me the whole time, watching everything carefully. But when we'd walked back to our hotel, a van had pulled up. Men with guns had grabbed me before Daniel could react. I'd heard him shout, heard gunfire. Then someone pressed a cloth over my face, and everything went black. I'd woken up here. Concrete floor, metal walls, a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. My head pounded. My wrists ached from the plastic ties. Fear sat like ice in my stomach. The metal door scraped open. A man walked in, older, white, expensive suit. 2 large guys flanked him. Finally awake, he said. Good. I need you conscious for this. What do you want? My voice came out stronger than I felt. Simple revenge. The man pulled up a chair and sat facing me. My name is Richard Blackwell. Your fiancé destroyed my investment portfolio 6 months ago. Cost me $50 million and my reputation. Time for payback. I'm not his fiancé. Close enough. Richard smiled coldly. You're his weakness. The only thing he actually cares about. He'll do anything to get you back, including giving me what I want. My mind raced. I'd learned enough about Jae-won's world to understand how this worked. Blackwell would make demands. Jae-won would have to choose between his business and my safety. He'll come for me, I said quietly. I'm counting on it, Blackwell laughed. Back in South Korea, Jae-won's phone buzzed with a call from Daniel. The moment he heard his security chief's panicked voice, the world stopped. They took her boss. I tried to stop them.
Got shot, but I'll live.
They took Zara. The phone cracked in Jae-won's grip. Around him, his home office suddenly felt too small. The air too thin. Rage, pure and absolute, flooded through him. Not the controlled anger he used in business negotiations. This was something primal, something deadly. Everyone here now, he spoke into his backup phone, his voice deadly calm. Within an hour, 20 of his most trusted people filled his penthouse. Jae-won stood before them, and they all took an unconscious step back. They'd seen him focus before. This was different. This was a man who would burn everything down. Richard Blackwell took Zara. Find him. I want every resource we have on this. Hack his accounts, track his people, find every property he owns. I want her location within 4 hours, or I start taking things apart piece by piece. His tech specialist worked frantically. Boss, I'm picking up movement on Blackwell's network. They're in Charlotte, somewhere in the industrial district near the port. Narrow it down.
Now.
3 hours later, they had an address. An abandoned warehouse that Blackwell's shell company owned. J1 gathered his team. He didn't bring weapons because he didn't need them. His connections were his weapons. Within 30 minutes, he'd made 6 phone calls. To a judge who owed him a favor. To a police captain who he'd helped years ago. To a federal prosecutor whose career he'd saved. To 2 senators whose campaigns he'd funded. By the time J1 arrived at the warehouse, it was surrounded by federal agents and local police. Blackwell and his men were in custody before they knew what hit them. J1 walked through the chaos straight to the back room where they were holding Zara. When he saw her, hands bound, a bruise forming on her cheek, something inside him shattered and reformed harder. He crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her against him, carefully cutting the zip ties with a knife an agent handed him. She collapsed into his arms, shaking. Are you hurt? Tell me everywhere you're hurt. I'm okay. I'm okay. I threw my arms around him, not caring about anything except that he was here.
You found me.
Always, his voice broke. I will always find you. They flew back to South Korea that night in J1's private plane. He refused to let go of my hand the entire flight. When we got back to the lake house, I showered, washing away the terror of the day. When I came out wrapped in a soft robe, I found J1 standing by the windows, staring at the dark water. I'd changed into comfortable clothes too, but his hands still shook slightly. I saw the cracks in his armor, the fear he'd been holding back. Hey, I said softly, crossing to him. I'm here. I'm safe. When I saw you in that warehouse, J1's voice was hollow. All I could think was that I'd failed you. That I should have protected you better. You didn't fail me. I put my hands on his face, forcing him to look at me.
You saved me. You always save me.
I can't lose you, Zara, he confessed. You're everything to me. Everything that matters. You won't lose me, I promised. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. A sound tore from his throat, and he kissed me desperately. We stumbled toward the bedroom, needing to feel alive, needing to prove we'd survived. We made love with an intensity that bordered on desperate. J1 touched me like he was memorizing every inch, like he needed to confirm I was real and whole and his. When I called his name and shattered around him, he followed immediately, holding me like I was the only solid thing in the world. Afterward, we lay tangled together, my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Marry me, he said quietly.
Now. Tomorrow.
I need you to be my wife. I need everyone to know you're mine forever. I lifted my head to look at him. His eyes were serious, vulnerable. Yes, I whispered. Yes to everything.
We got married the next day.
Just us, Mrs. Park as a witness, and a judge who J1 knew. I wore a simple white dress. He wore a dark suit. We said our vows in the court, promising forever. That night, as his wife, I lay in his arms watching the moonlight on the water. I almost lost you, he whispered. I can't ever go through that again. You didn't lose me. I'm right here. I squeezed his hand. And I'm never leaving. You're stuck with me forever. Forever sounds perfect. He kissed me softly. I love you more than I knew it was possible to love someone. I love you too. My brilliant, protective, complicated, perfect man. Outside, the world kept turning. But in this moment, in this bed, we had everything that mattered. Love that had been tested and proved unbreakable. Trust earned through fire. And a future stretching ahead of us, full of possibility. J1 had spent his whole life building his career and reputation. Now, finally, he could just be. Because he'd found something worth more than all the success and influence in the world. He'd found home in my arms, and that was worth everything. 1 year had transformed everything. I stood in front of a full-length mirror in a villa in Jeju Island, barely recognizing the woman staring back. My wedding dress, our real wedding dress, was stunning. Silk and lace and ivory, fitting my curves perfectly, with delicate sleeves and a neckline that was elegant and beautiful. My hair was styled in soft curls with fresh flowers woven through. I looked happy. I looked loved. I looked like I belonged exactly where I was. "You're glowing," my cousin Shanice said, adjusting the flowers in my hair. "I've never seen you like this before." "I've never felt like this," I said. Like, everything finally makes sense. Shanice's eyes got teary. "I'm so happy for you, girl. When I saw that video of your first wedding, I wanted to fly to South Korea and fight Marcus myself. But then Jae-won walked down that aisle, and I knew he was your person. He saved me," I said softly. "In every way a person can be saved." The past year had been incredible. True to our quiet courthouse wedding, Jae-won and I were legally married. But he'd wanted to give me the wedding I deserved. Something beautiful and meaningful, with the people we loved. My bakery had expanded beyond my wildest dreams. Sweet Zara's now had 6 locations across the Southeast. I employed 40 people. Major publications had featured my recipes. Celebrity chefs came to try my desserts. I was living a dream I'd barely let myself imagine. But the best part was coming home every night to Jae-won. To a man who looked at me like I was the most precious thing in his world, who supported every dream, celebrated every success, and held me through every challenge. "It's time," Shanice said, squeezing my hand. "Your man is waiting." The ceremony was on the beach at sunset. Only 30 guests, all people who truly mattered. Jae-won's business partner stood beside him as best man. Mrs. Park dabbed her eyes with tissue. A few of my close friends from South Korea sat in white chairs arranged in the sand. But I only had eyes for Jae-won. He stood at the end of a path marked by lanterns, the ocean behind him turning gold and pink in the setting sun. He wore a perfectly tailored light gray suit, no tie, looking relaxed and elegant and absolutely perfect. When he saw me, his whole face transformed. Love and wonder and joy all mixed together. I walked toward him barefoot, my dress trailing in the sand. No one gave me away, because I wasn't property to be transferred. I came to him as an equal, as a partner, as a woman choosing her own future. When I reached him, Jae-won took both my hands. His eyes were already glassy with tears. "You're so beautiful," he whispered. "So are you," I whispered back. The officiant, a kind older woman with kind eyes, smiled at us both. "We're gathered here in paradise to witness the marriage of Zara and Jae-won. This is a love story that started with courage, with someone seeing value where others saw nothing, with 2 hearts finding each other against impossible odds." She nodded to Jae-won. "Your vows." Jae-won cleared his throat. His hands shook slightly as he held mine. "1 year ago, I walked into a wedding and did something everyone thought was crazy. I claimed a woman I barely knew as mine. People thought I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. But from the first moment I saw you, Zara, I knew. I knew you were the one I'd been waiting for my entire life." Tears rolled down my cheeks. Jae-won gently wiped them away with his thumbs, his touch tender. "You taught me that love isn't a weakness. That being vulnerable with the right person is the bravest thing you can do. You saw past what everyone else saw and found the man underneath. The man who just wanted to be worthy of someone like you." His voice broke. "I promise to spend every single day for the rest of my life proving you're the most precious thing in my world. I promise to support your dreams, celebrate your victories, and hold you through every challenge. I promise to love every part of you exactly as you are for as long as I live." I was fully crying now, happy tears that I didn't bother wiping away. The officiant nodded to me. "Jae-won," I began, my voice thick with emotion. "When Marcus left me at that altar, I thought my life was over. I thought I'd never be good enough, pretty enough, worthy enough. Then you appeared like something from a dream and showed me I was wrong about everything." I squeezed his hands. "You taught me that real love doesn't see flaws. It sees a whole person and chooses them anyway. You made me believe in myself when I'd stopped believing. You gave me courage to chase dreams I'd given up on. You protected me, supported me, and loved me so fiercely that I had no choice but to love myself too. Jae-won's tears matched mine now. Two people completely undone by love. I promise to be your partner in everything. To stand beside you in success and struggle. To remind you that choosing love takes more strength than building empires. I promise to love you with everything I have, in every way I can, for all the days we're given. I smiled through my tears. You saved me, but we saved each other. And I can't wait to spend forever showing you how grateful and that you said I will. The officiant beamed at us both. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Jae-won pulled me close and kissed me like we were the only two people in the world, like I was air and he'd been drowning. The small group cheered and clapped. Someone whistled. Shanice sobbed happy tears. When we finally broke apart, both laughing and crying, the sun was setting behind us in a blaze of orange and purple.
Perfect.
Everything was absolutely perfect. The reception was intimate and beautiful. A long table on the beach with string lights overhead. Fresh seafood, Korean fusion cuisine, my homemade wedding cake that I'd insisted on baking myself. Music played softly from speakers hidden in the palm trees. Jae-won never let go of my hand. Even while eating, while talking to guests, while cutting the cake. He needed that constant contact, that proof that I was really his wife. When it was time for our first dance, he led me to a cleared area of sand. The song was slow and romantic. We swayed together, foreheads touching, lost in our own world. I have something to tell you, I whispered. Something I found out yesterday. Jae-won pulled back to look at me, curiosity in his eyes. What is it? I took his hand and placed it low on my belly. We're going to have a baby. I'm about 10 weeks along. For a moment, Jae-won just stared at me. Then his face crumpled with joy. He dropped to his knees right there on the beach, pressing his forehead against my stomach. A baby? We're having a baby? I ran my fingers through his hair, laughing and crying at the same time. Are you happy? He looked up at me, tears streaming down his face. Happy doesn't even begin to cover it. You've given me everything, Zara. A reason to be better, a home, a family. I never thought I'd have any of this. He stood and kissed me deeply, not caring that everyone was watching. When we pulled apart, the guests were clapping again. Someone shouted congratulations. Shanice was crying even harder than before. The honeymoon stretched out like a dream. We spent 2 weeks in our private villa. Days were for exploring the island, walking on black sand beaches, visiting waterfalls and traditional villages. Nights were for making love under the stars, talking about our future, planning for the baby growing inside me. Jae-won was obsessed with my belly. Even though I wasn't showing yet, he touched it constantly, talked to it, told our baby about how amazing their mother was. Do you think it's a boy or girl? He asked one night as we lay in bed, the ocean breeze drifting through open windows. I don't care as long as they're healthy, I said. Though I hope they get your eyes and your heart. I hope they get your strength, your kindness, your smile. He kissed me softly. I hope they know how lucky they are to have you as their mother. On our last night in Jeju, we sat on the beach watching the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of pink, orange, and purple. Waves lapped gently at the shore. Jae-won sat behind me, his arms wrapped around me, his hands resting protectively on my stomach. Do you ever think about that day? I asked quietly. The wedding? Every single day, Jae-won admitted. Best decision I ever made. Walking down that aisle, claiming you as mine. People thought I was insane. Maybe I was. But it was the kind of insane that changes everything. I leaned back against his chest. Marcus actually did me a favor. If he'd married me, I would have spent my whole life wondering what real love felt like. Now I know. It feels like this. Like coming home. You are my home, Jae-won whispered against my hair. You and this baby. You're everything I need. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun sink below the horizon. The sky darkened to deep purple, then navy blue. Stars began to appear, thousands of them, more than you could ever see in the city. "Promise me something," I said. "Anything. Promise that we'll always be honest with each other. That we'll fight for this, even when it's hard. That we'll never take each other for granted." "I promise," he said. "Every day for the rest of our lives." He turned my face so he could kiss me. "You saved me, Zara, from a life where nothing mattered except success. You showed me that love is the only thing worth fighting for." "We saved each other," I corrected softly. "That's what real love does. It makes both people better." As the stars filled the Korean sky, Jae-won held his wife and their unborn child, feeling more complete than he ever thought possible. He'd spent years building a career, accumulating success and influence and respect. None of it had filled the emptiness inside him. But this woman, with her generous heart and beautiful spirit, had filled every crack and crevice. She'd shown him that being vulnerable wasn't weakness, that choosing love over fear was the bravest thing anyone could do. "I love you," he whispered. "More than words can express." "I love you too," I replied. "Always and forever." Forever. That's exactly what we had. A love story that started with rejection and ended in the most beautiful beginning. A future full of bakeries and babies, laughter and challenges, ordinary moments made extraordinary by being together. Sometimes the most incredible love stories start when someone looks past the surface and sees who you really are. When someone says "I will" when everyone else walks away. When two broken pieces find each other and become whole. As Jae-won and I sat wrapped in each other's arms, watching the stars dance above the Korean Ocean, we knew one thing with absolute certainty. We were home. We were loved. And we were exactly where we were meant to be. Thank you so much for joining Zara and Jae-won on their incredible journey from heartbreak to happiness. If this love story touched your heart, please subscribe to the channel so you never miss another romantic tale. Drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from and what part of the story made your heart flutter the most. Did you love the moment Jae-won crashed the wedding, the passionate connection they shared, or maybe the beautiful ending with their baby on the way? We want to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that like button and share this story with someone who believes in second chances and true love. Your support means everything and helps us bring you more amazing stories. Until next time, rate this story on a scale of 10, and I'll see you in the next story.